The Sony and Netflix movie K-pop Demon Hunters was an instant phenomenon among kids of all ages throughout the year 2025. But now, as we head into the future, as a sequel was inevitably greenlit, we're looking at a 4-year gap between films. But oh, wait a minute. According to Sony and Netflix now, that might even be a little too optimistic. K-pop Demon Hunters sequel may not be able to happen by 2029. Let's talk about it today on That Park Place. Guys, K-pop Demon Hunters, one of the biggest things going in entertainment right now. We saw these 3 girls performed at the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, and the parade popped a massive rating as a result. One of the biggest that it's ever done, because these 3 girls, Huntrix, K-pop Demon Hunters, were there. So this article from thatparkplace.com comes to us from Cham Lee and says plans for a sequel to the animated film K-pop Demon Hunters are reportedly moving forward, but studio executives now indicate the project will likely not be completed in time for a planned 2029 release on Netflix. Studio leaders have responded directly to questions about the timeline, describing the current stage of development as preliminary and subject to an extended schedule. Now, Sony Pictures Animation co-president Christine Belson addressed questions about a 2029 release during a recent interview with The Hollywood Reporter, where the publication suggested that the year might be optimistic given where production stands. Belson placed her finger to her nose, a gesture indicating agreement with the idea that the timeline may have been overly ambitious. Belson later clarified that substantive work on the sequel has not begun in earnest, in part because the creative team, and this is the part that drove me insane, is still engaged with awards season and other commitments related to the original film. I'm sorry, awards season? Are you kidding me? It says so the directors Maggie Kane and Chris Appel-Hans, who led the first film, would need uninterrupted time to begin shaping the sequel. She said there's been a lot to tend to in terms of the award campaign, making my head explode. Referencing the participation in industry events and ceremonies. The implication from her remarks is that the production clock for the sequel has not yet started in a meaningful way. Guys, one of the ways that these sequels are able to get out quickly is because typically they start working on the sequel, at least preliminarily, before the first movie comes out. Now, this movie, I am convinced, was never supposed to be a hit. No one ever thought it was going to be a hit. K-pop Demon Hunters was just going to be one of the many anime type, movies that get released on Netflix seemingly every day, and this one just happened to take off. As a result, they had no merch and they had no sequel plan, and now they're scrambling. And a 4-year gap, I mean, the way these trends move, 4 years might be way too long for a movie of this size. The kids that are 14 right now who love this are going to be 18 by the time the second one comes out, and who knows if that's going to be considered passé or boring by the time that comes out. Vash Sky, they're focused on awards season instead of getting the sequel out. How short-sighted is that?
I don't know. This is already a phenomenon. Why focus on the award season to the extent that you bypass a wonderful revenue opportunity in actually constructing the sequel? I do agree with you, Marvin. This is something that was not supposed to be a hit. In fact, during test screenings, this tested extremely poorly. And I know the writers and directors, they talk about how they had to rework the film actually several times in order to get this thing through the finish line. And Sony was so down on it that they sold, the streaming rights to Netflix. And it's just caught on like gangbusters, really found the right audience and exploded from there. And I am shocked that this sequel has been delayed to the extent that it has. You would think that they would be rushing to get something out there. You'd think that they would be, traveling back to either Korea, Japan, wherever these particular movies happen to be produced. But c'est la vie. We are not. We are instead focusing on the Oscars. Yes, because you need more commercial attention. I'm not sure.
But you know what? You guys are absolutely right. I remember when the film came out, and it was the kids, especially my daughter. She's 7. She was obsessed, and her birthday was literally 2 months later. In her birthday party, she wanted K-pop Demon Hunters, and I'm like, it's not available. They don't even have party supplies. There's no dolls. There's nothing. So this year, I think not too long ago, a little girl in her class had a party, and she was like, "Oh, Mom, it was all the K-pop theme." And I'm like, "Well, baby, they must have just fixed it, or they must have just came out with all this stuff. But now I'm seeing Loungefly has the merch that you can get, like the backpack and the wallet and whatnot from K-pop, and they have that one brand where you can pop yourself. It's like Funko, and now you can get K-pop dolls and all that. So it rolled out late. They were not. I don't think they were anticipating this thing was going to be such a huge hit the way it did. But yeah, note to self: never underestimate anything. Have the merch ready to go. The party supplies must be flying through the roof for little girls' birthdays. Just saying.
Absolutely. Guys, I mean, this movie, you look at Golden was top of the Billboard charts for weeks. I mean, this is the biggest original movie in the history of Netflix. What is next for it? That is the question. Like, what do you do in the sequel? They clearly did not have any plans for it because they're not even writing it yet. And at a 4-year return, like turntable here, probably not going to happen. So when do you think we get it then, Erika? Do you think maybe is 2030 too ambitious? 2031 even? At that point, why even bother?
4 years for an animated feature, that's actually a short turnaround considering it takes 6 to 7 years on average to pull off, especially a musical. It could have a strong enough following where even your future 18-year-olds will be like, ooh, be drawn into that nostalgia. Or it could end up being like, Avatar, where there's just too much of a gap in between movies and it's going to lose its luster. In that 4-year time period, something else could come on scene that will sweep kids and, teens off their feet. Because that's one thing about pop culture is you never know from 1 minute to the next what is going to come down the pipeline and just be that big pop hit, with teens and young adults and kids. I kind of hope they do, and I might be being selfish here. I enjoyed the movie. The music was great. But at the same time, I wouldn't expect a second album to be just as good as the first. So that's, kind of like Frozen. You always have that with sequels. Maybe a TV show would be a better option and alternative, and they could have some music.
That's a great point, Erika. I can see Netflix giving like a series for the kids based on that movie. That would be cool.
A little controversial here. I actually thought that the music in Frozen 2 was better.
Oh, really? You're not the first I've heard that from.
I think The Next Right Thing is a really good song. I think Christoph's song, Lost in the Woods, I love that one. And I thought Into the Unknown is better than Let It Go.
Let It Go. It did have
maybe because Let It Go was so overplayed at the time.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
I thought Into the Unknown was phenomenal.
Into the Unknown was definitely, I noticed, interjected throughout the film quite a bit. You don't really see that a whole lot, that theming. Usually it's just the one hit song from the princess kind of echoing her whatever moment she's trying to express emotionally. And then the movie just kind of goes on to the next and goes on with the plot. But I did notice the Frozen 2, it was consistent. You could even hear it in the background all throughout the movie, which it's different. I'm just saying with kids, it didn't really land as well with kids, but the movie landed great with adults. I enjoyed Frozen 2, but I'm speaking in terms of how these things land with kids and teens.
The way that I think you keep K-pop Demon Hunters in the public eye is you do a Hannah Montana situation with this. But what I mean is you make them Huntrix and you tour them. You send them in concerts all over the place. You have them doing appearances everywhere. And then when the animated film comes out, it's the animated film of this band, similar to the Beatles making Yellow Submarine or that, like
would work. It would keep it alive.
And they look like the characters. So like the actual 3 girls, like that's what you do going forward. And then eventually you do a live action film. With the
I didn't think about that, doing live action. That's an option for them if they wanted to go in that direction. Now, I have a question because I know for a while there was this like tension between Sony and Netflix because Sony wouldn't be able to profit off of merch. It's like Netflix had the rights to really, I guess, profit more off of K-pop Demon Hunters versus Sony. Do you think that might have anything to do with Sony kind of taking pause on a sequel? Because how much money are they really going to get out of the deal when it was their creation to begin with? Just looking at it from their perspective.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really the issue with these rights that change hands, right? One of the biggest advantages of Disney, and they will be sure to, tell you all about it, is that they have this tremendous flywheel, right? And that they own everything. And that when something does hit, they can go ahead and send those things out, either via the parks, consumer products, video games, etc. When this originated as a Sony product and then was handed over via distribution to Netflix, some of that kind of got lost right there. Nobody, as Marvin pointed out, nobody thought that this was going to be a hit. It's almost like the Frozen situation, but worse. Frozen, if people remember, nobody expected that to be the unbelievable mega hit that was originally. And so Frozen merch just sold like hotcakes. They didn't have enough to meet demand, and so they were a little bit behind the eight ball.
Same thing with Lilo and Stitch. They were not prepared for Stitchamania.
Right. Just billions and billions and billions of dollars worth of merch. Meanwhile, because of these rights issues, it's like, okay, when you make a series of K-pop Demon Hunter dolls, who actually gets the money for that? Netflix, who made it popular, or Sony, who made it in the first place? This is very, very interesting. I don't know how that breaks down, Erika, but you are leaving a tremendous amount of money, I would think, on the table by not going full bore with the merch like a Disney could.
I wanted to point out that a lot of the athletes are choosing songs from this movie for their I saw it for myself with the ice skating. I'm a huge fan of the ice skating. I think it's beautiful. And they are putting some of the music from the film.
In the Olympic Games, yeah.
Yes, it's very nice. Very nice. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yep. There was one guy who did his entire set dressed as a minion.
Oh my gosh, I didn't see that.
Yeah, that was interesting.
I want to see that.
But guys, so 2029 is the target. We are going to see if Sony and Netflix are able to hit that, or if this franchise is going to still end up going up, up, up.
Thanks for watching That Park Plays News. For more information, consider checking out www.thatparkplace.com. And don't forget to subscribe, share, like, and send this out on your favorite social media accounts.